What is up, y'all? We are here in the land of Potomac, Maryland. If you're new here, you probably are. Hit subscribe. Do that real quick. I'm gonna be here with y'all all season. All season. So give me a thumbs up. It helps so much with pushing the video out. We want to get me in the algorithm to get more people over to have the conversations with us for the rest of the season. This season looks like it's gonna be good. It does look like it's gonna be good. This was a pretty solid premiere. I was cracking up laughing a lot of the moments. But yeah, if you're new here, please give me that thumbs up. Let me know what y'all think down below. Share the video, subscribe if you're new. And I ain't gonna waste no time. Let's go. All right, so we start off with a flash forward to what happened last month when Karen Huger got released from jail. But they show a flashback of her getting sentenced 6 months earlier, but we then move to March 1st, which is 2 days before her sentencing. And we're at Gizelle's house, and Gizelle's setting up because she got the girls coming over for food and drinks. And she's like, I'm experiencing a lot of emotions at this point. I wish this wasn't happening, everything that's happening with Karen. But I don't want Karen in jail. But like 4 DUIs, that's crazy. We don't want a 5th one. It is crazy. Like, it's crazy. And as we get through it, I'm going to tell y'all who I like and how I feel about each one of these women. Gizelle, I know she's not a lot of people's favorite. I have a back and forth with her. She's funny to me in some moments, but I understand why people don't like her, because of the colorist allegations and stuff. And when I'm saying allegations, I'm protecting myself. I can see why y'all feel that way. I see the good and I see the bad in Gizelle. That might be a controversial opinion. In my opinion, she don't really bother me that much. But I see why she bothers other people. But look, she does certain things that do need to be called out, and I will call it out. But Ashley arrives. Ashley's not my favorite. I'm going to tell you that right now. She's not my favorite at all. But she has some moments where she makes me laugh, and she had me laugh in this episode. But she arrives, and they start talking about how tense it was and how intense everything's been going on with Karen going to jail, and the fact that they're waking up knowing every day Karen is waking up in jail. And they want her in an elderly section. Ashley starts it off shading already, talking about she needs to be in the AARP section. Gizelle lets her know that Keiarna, Wendy, and Stacey, they're going to be coming to the house as well. But Ashley's like, me and Stacey met up with the kids, and I did that to allow Stacey to kind of clear the air when it came to her and TJ. And Gizelle's like, okay, so what did she say? Ashley said the same thing that she been saying. But as they're talking, Wendy and Keiarna, they arrive, and Keiarna's like, have you been here? And Wendy's like, yeah, I've been outside. Y'all know what she talking about. She's shading her because y'all remember that one infamous scene of them being outside and her shading Gizelle, because Gizelle's like, you wish this was your life. And Wendy was like, this? But Gizelle and Ashley, they're so deep in the conversation because Keiarna and Wendy go to the door and they ring the doorbell just repeatedly, and they can't hear because they're so deep in the conversation. But Wendy and Kay, they walk in, which in black households, that's not normal. That's not normal because you don't enter somebody's house unless they let you in, but they had to enter because if they didn't, they weren't gonna come to the door. But they go and sit down. Stacey arrives and they talking about how she got the same car as Ashley now. And Keiarna's like, yeah, because she spent TJ's money on it. That's the problem. I started laughing because it's funny. They was on Stacey from day 1, minute 1 of this season. But Stacey comes walking in and she's burping. Remember the burping? That's gonna come up later on. But Gizelle thanks them for coming because she knew they all needed to be together considering everything that happened with Karen. And they all agree, like every morning they be waking up thinking about the fact that she's actually in jail. But Wendy was like, for me, the worst part is her instantly being taken into custody. She was wondering if Karen was prepared. And I'm like, Karen was the one that thought she was going to get off. Like, Karen thought that she was not going to jail when everything was written in the stars that she was going to jail, which was crazy to me. Like, she could have taken probation, but she decided to let that thing go to trial, which was insane to me. But Stacey then says that she thought about Raven. Gizelle says the same thing. She thought about Ray as well. And Gizelle was like, this is the 4th DUI. Like, at some point, there's got to be some accountability. Yes. But Ashley can't resist from being shady, talking about Karen's Thomas Jefferson's concubine. You know how Karen said that shit. But Ashley then moves to Stacey and TJ. And Stacey's sitting there talking about, I've been sitting here telling my truth, and I'm sitting in my truth like I did at the reunion. You weren't sitting in your truth at that reunion. You were lying. And Gizelle says, okay, so what's that truth? And Stacey says exactly what I said. I said you was lying. But she then says that she didn't pay him to be on the show, which we know that's bullshit. But Wendy then asks, like, have you talked to him? And she says, yes, he was remorseful. I said, still lying. Still lying. But Ashley then mentions how TJ had been on Instagram stating that he was not lying and he's going to be bringing receipts, basically stating that she owes him money. So Kay was like, it's getting scary at this point, considering the fact that she's still sitting over here lying. And Stacey ends up asking, why is that scary? And she says, like, something awful happened to me. And they say, what? Like, what happened to you that was so awful? She states that TJ was stating that she was paying him, and they're sitting around here acting like she's untrustworthy. And Whitney said, like, at the reunion, we were telling you what was happening, and you were the one sitting here calling us liars. So Wendy then says, like, my friend, if I told her something that I know to be a lie about her life, she wouldn't just jump to stating that I was lying. She would actually hear me out first. And Stacey was like, I mean, that's how I felt about TJ. I started and wanted to believe TJ was telling the truth. You knew he wasn't telling the truth, Stacey. Like, come on. But Keiarna then says that they've been, they said that you basically was trying to get on the show before. Like, these rumors is that you've been trying to get on the show. Is that not true? Stacey says, I've been on TV for years. And then they showed the QCV. That's the TV that you've been on. But Stacey then says, like, I mean, I got on the show at the right time. And I know that's a sensitive topic to you, Keiarna. She's talking to Keiarna. Wendy's face had me laughing. But Keiarna's like, I mean, you're a liar. I'm calling it out. Stacey asked, like, what am I lying about? Keiarna was like, I mean, you were sitting up there lying on the reunion. You couldn't squeeze out one tear out of that beady ass eye that you got sitting here lying. Gizelle's over there laughing. Stacey says it's shocking to me, and she's stating this in her confessionals, it's shocking to me all this negativity that's coming from Kay, because she's very vanilla to me, because now she has a personality when it comes to me. That was funny. Because y'all know what everybody been saying all last season when it came to Keiarna's showing on her debut as a housewife. But Stacey, she says that she was hurt, and she knows everybody there has experienced humiliation from a man. The only one that hasn't that's in that room is Wendy, because Wendy's husband has not humiliated her. But the rest of them, absolutely. She's not lying. But Gizelle says no. Stacey says, really? You haven't experienced it? She absolutely has. Jamal has literally embarrassed Gizelle so many times I can't even think of. But Gizelle then says, don't bring us into your shit. And Stacey says, I mean, I'm tired of being hurt. Giselle says, this is the first conversation. Accountability is what this group is all about. I said, is it, Giselle? Because y'all, man, please. But Stacey gets up, stating that maybe she needs to reconsider this group. And she walks off, leaving out of there. This is the first of 2 times that she walked off when she was getting confronted. And she leaves talking about something she can't be friends with these bitches. But as she leaves, Gizelle lets the girls know there that her and Ashley were at a luncheon in LA. An actress who's best friends with TJ brought up legal documents showing that TJ is in fact suing Stacey. When Stacey, this right here blew me. Stacey stated in her in the court documents that she was gonna pay TJ 50% of her earnings from the show. That is crazy. 50%? Stacey, that's embarrassing. But we then move to a scene where Stacey is with her ex-husband, which we don't even know if that's her ex-husband. But they're at a lounge, which I'm like, this is the next scam that she about to pull over on us this season. But she tells us that she's back with him. I said, well, y'all ever not together? But she then states that she's happy. They spent Christmas together for the sake of Arabella, which is her daughter. And they were notified that they were officially divorced, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. But she claims that they realize that they have to essentially give each other another chance, and they're going to go with the flow. I said for the show. Exactly. Stacey, my perception of her, she's a liar, but she's needed for the show. She's funny. And when I say she's funny, she's unnecessarily funny. Like, some of the stuff she does cracks me up. The way she moves is funny. And she's needed on the show. With Mia and her delusions being gone from the show, she fits in perfectly because she's kind of like the punching bag. Like, she really is. But he does not look interested in her at all. At all. Like, the whole conversation did not. She's talking about how they've always prioritized their daughter and never really prioritized them as a couple. And she didn't ask him if he's prepared for everybody pretty much stating that they're crazy to get back together. And he's like, yeah, I mean, my real friends will be happy and they would support me being happy. But she claims that he treats her like a lady. And it feels great being back with him, and they falling back into the swing of things. I said that completely contradicts everything that you said last season, but okay. But Stacey then tells him to stick to the plan. Like, they got to stick to the plan with Arabella, not speaking of them being divorced or them being back together, to not confuse her, because they already told her that they were divorced, which We later find out, are they really? But she then says that she doesn't know why they keep giving each other googly eyes. She's talking to him. Well, I don't know why we keep giving each other googly eyes. I said, you are. If you watch him throughout this entire conversation, this entire scene, his eyes are going everywhere but her. Like, he's barely looking at her. And then for her to say googly eyes, I'm like, he's not even making eye contact with you. That was crazy to me. We then move to Keiarna. Keiarna, quick thoughts. Beautiful girl. Beautiful girl. When she first came on the show as a friend of, I was definitely enjoying her a lot more than what last season was. But I'm indifferent. I don't dislike her, but I'm not like a super fan. But her mom arrives, who looks absolutely gorgeous. Like, good black. She looked like she could be her older sister, not her mom. But Keiarna talks about how last year she had dark moments, as we all know, with Greg. But she says it didn't help that he showed his ass on TV, and she moved out at the ending of the relationship. It doesn't help that he showed his ass, but it does help at the same time, because you should have been able to see it in real time. But it makes you at least be able to hold yourself accountable, but clearly she hasn't. But her mom ends up asking how Jamaica was, because they were supposed to have been broken up. We find out that 3 months after she moved out of the condo, Greg had realized that she was serious about this breakup and wanted to get her back. And he then called her, pretty much was like, let's go to Jamaica. They went to Jamaica. She says it was a much needed vacation to reset the tone. I said, please, Keiarna. But she then says she's been in therapy and it helped her realize what she wanted, and she didn't feel happy with Greg. Yet you still... Her mom then asks, like, what are you doing differently this time? And she says, like, we're just dating and I just want to be happy. I'm taking a step back from all this married talk. And that was another thing last season that was very, very telling. The fact that she always was talking to him about wanting to get married. A man's going to marry you if he wants to marry you. You ain't got to keep telling him that. And the fact that she kept trying to force him to do it, and she was missing the signs that were in her face that he did not want to do that, it was crazy to me. But her mama's face cracked me up. But her mom says, like, I just don't think this relationship is good for you, because it's not. And she says, I didn't like the person that you were in that season of your life. I raised a strong, beautiful black woman that is to put herself first. You are to be earned. Like, all of this is to be earned. And you have to think about your happiness as a whole. And everything she said was the advice that she needed to hear. We'll see throughout the season if Keiarna actually took that in. But we then move to Wendy. She's at home with her daughter, with her kids, and Eddie. And we find out Happy Eddie is still successful. It's in 3 different states now. The business is taking off. Shout out to them. Good for him. Love black-owned businesses. But it's brought in the income. It's giving them the freedom to pretty much do what they want with whatever opportunities they have. But Eddie's pretty much like gloating about it in front of the kids, letting the kids know, like, this is what can happen if you put your mind towards something, and showing them that this is how you can grow a business. So Wendy then asks her daughter, what does she want to be when she grows up? And she says she wants to be a doctor. Wendy takes that as a sign she's happy about it. She likes to hear that. Obviously, anybody would want to hear that coming from their kid. But one of her sons was like, you're not even a doctor. They're looking like, what you mean? Yes, she is. He's like, not an actual doctor. I was like, yeah, you got it. But Wendy then says that Eddie inspires her, but he doesn't only just inspire her. He inspires a lot of people in this group, a.k.a. Stacey, which we all know from last season at the reunion. Gizelle pretty much blew up her spot about her pretty much wanting to do the same thing and enter the same business as Eddie. And of course, Stacey was sitting up there lying. But Wendy's other son, we find out he wants to work for Chick-fil-A because he sees how successful it is. And he thinks just because it's a successful business that they would be able to pay him what... I said, sir, you do not want to work at Chick-fil-A. But we then move to Ashley with Stacey at this shop as she's getting ready for her divorce party. So Ashley's sitting here talking about how she is doing this divorce party after 3 long agonizing years. I said maybe 2 out of those 3 were long and well, no, because 2 of those 3 you were dragging your feet. Like, you weren't trying to get divorced. You can't tell me otherwise. She was trying to prolong that shit because she didn't want to get divorced. But she then says that she wanted some returns on her investments, which is what she got. So I guess, I mean, look, the dragging, I guess it worked. But she then lets the owner of the boutique that she's at know that Stacey's coming. And Ashley tells us, like, I figured that it would be nice to have the time with the 2 of us because I do respect our friendship. And now it's time for her, talking about Stacey, to be truthful, because how can I be friends with somebody who's lying and I don't feel like I know you? So Stacey arrives and she tells Ashley that her invitation was beautiful. Ashley then says this is called the second bloom ball because it's her becoming a badder bitch than she ever was. I said, okay, Ashley. But Stacey, she's in her confessional And she says that she feels like divorce shouldn't be celebrated. But she's not Ashley, and she says it took Ashley 10 years to get divorced, so I guess she's in a different place. I said, this that shit I'll be talking about when it comes to Stacey being funny. But Ashley then addresses the tension that they last had when they was at Gizelle's house. And she was like, I mean, I understand why you felt like you needed to leave, even though I wish you didn't. Stacey then says, I mean, I felt ganged up on, and I'm asking you this because you stated that you understand why I left. So do you feel like that was too much? It was too harsh? Ashley says, days before we were at Gizelle's house, I was at a luncheon, and there was an actress that came and showed me screenshots of legal documents stating that you're the defendant and TJ is the plaintiff. And she was wondering if TJ was going to try and sue you. And Stacey then says, I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I said, Stacey, please. Ashley says, see, so you're still going to maintain the fact that you were being truthful. Stacey is still maintaining that everything she said was truthful. And she's like, I mean, I can't talk to you about what somebody else said about me. It's starting to get ridiculous. So do you really want to know the truth? Ashley says, yes, I do. Like, I do want to know the truth. Stacey says that she forgave TJ and he's going on with his life and she's in a new space. I said, with a lawsuit pending, that's what you're not worried about that. But Ashley then says, like, you a scary bitch maintaining all these lies. So Stacey says that I'm not going to keep going back and forth about an imaginary friend and an imaginary document. So Ashley's like, there's nothing imaginary about this woman. And she name drops the woman. She's like, she's a very successful actress. Stacey's sitting there looking dumbfounded. But she says she can't control anything that anybody says. Obviously you can't, but you can respond to it. But Ashley then says, this is why everybody thinks that you're fake. Like, you just going to sit here and wait for the potential lawsuit to come out. And Stacey says, I mean, I'm not, because I'm moving on at this point. Ashley then says, so this is new info now. Like, you sitting here acting like this is fresh. Like, this is stuff that's been out here. This is fresh. Stacey says it's new to you, but it's not new to me. And I'm like, so if it's not new to you, then why are you talking about it's imaginary? But she then states that it doesn't matter what anybody says about me. Ashley then says, I just want you to be honest. Like, are you actually divorced? Stacey says, yeah, I absolutely am. Ashley says, so why is it not in any databases in Virginia? I said, true. Stacey says, because it's not for anybody's business. It don't work that way, Stacey. And that's what Ashley says. It doesn't work that way. When you get divorced, it's going to be in the state's public documents. Like, you're going to be able to see that shit. So Stacey then says, like, you're a busy mom performing sitting here looking at me. Stacey then gets in her confessionals. She says she needs to be Googling a voice coach, which is the truth. And she says, I just don't understand why, if we're friends, why would Ashley not just ask me that? Because she knew you would lie. But Stacey then asks Ashley, like, what makes you do that? Like, what makes you do that? Ashley says, I don't like liars. Stacey then asks her, like, how do you know that I'm a liar? Ashley says, I don't know that you are. I don't know that you aren't a liar. I'm sitting here asking you these questions to get you to tell me the truth. So Stacey then says, once you speak to this imaginary friend and show me this proof that she claims that she has, we can rekindle our relationship. And she walks off for the second time. Every time she gets confronted and she can't do anything but lie and try and find her way out of it, she runs away. Can't respect it. But Ashley then says another walk off. Like, what is she running from at this point? And then she says, I should be the one running, considering the fact that she keep blowing that hot ass breath in my face. I die. So we then see a quick scene of Gizelle. She's at home. She's happy. She's an empty nester. She's been enjoying it. She FaceTimes Ashley, and Ashley's talking about the party. Gizelle is bringing her friend Tia, who is the new housewife. Ashley tells her that she don't know if Stacey gonna make it though, because they met up after Gizelle's little event at the house. And she was like, I mean, I pretty much asked Stacey if she's going to stop lying. And Gizelle said, what did she say? Ashley started imitating Stacey in the most accurate way. The voice was down to a T. But she was like, she maintaining her lies. And Ashley then talks about how she found nothing for Stacey being divorced in the Virginia public records. And Gizelle's flabbergasted. Like, what? She really ain't divorced? So we then move to Kay. She's with the new housewife, Angel. And they're at her home with her family. And Kay, we find out they've been friends for almost 20 years. She was a client of Kay's, and then they became business partners as well. Angel and her husband, they moved back to Potomac from Colorado. Her husband played professional football for the Broncos. So yeah, she's we find out too, Angel says that most people's misconceptions and misperceptions of her is that she's a bitch because she has resting bitch face, but she's really a girl's girl. But we find out as well that she was born and raised in Maryland. They moved to Colorado for Bobby's career, which is her husband. Now that he's retired, they move back because their family's there and they want to be with their family. But he heads on out. Kay and Angel, I was about to say Ashley, Angel, they head out back to go hike. They're pretty much having small talk and whatever. We find out that she also owns a luxurious outdoor experience business out there in Colorado with her husband, and they want to move that over to Maryland as well and open new locations there. But she talks about like meditation helps ground her. It's helped her heal with her mom passing, and it also helps her not be as reactive to certain things that she might have been in the past. But Angel, she then asks, like, what's the social landscape of everything that's going on out here? Kay starts talking about the girls. She talks about how her and Gizelle have pretty much built a relationship. She talks about Ashley, and then she moves to Wendy. Angel, we find out Angel knew of Wendy in college. Wendy was roommates with her college big sister. We find out that they're like a couple years apart, her and Wendy. So they didn't really know each other. But she then states that she didn't know anything else outside of Wendy pretty much being a go-getter. She always has had that same mentality and energy. So Kay then starts talking about these microaggressions. I'm like, so she then says that when they were in LA, she's talking about her and Wendy with Mia. They were in LA for the NAACP Awards, and Wendy apparently was being weird to Kay about attending the event. When they were there, she was waiting on Wendy to acknowledge her, and she claims Wendy didn't. We'll get to it. But Kay then says that they had a lot of on and off camera experiences that were dismissive. Considering Kay's first season, I think it was the first season. Was it the first season? It was either first or last season. Yeah, it was definitely the first season because Candace was there. Wendy definitely had some moments where she definitely was doing things that I personally wouldn't have done as a friend. But what we about to talk about in a minute, I'm on Wendy's side, but we'll get to it. But Angel then asked her if, like, why can't Wendy be cool or whatever? And Kay was like, I mean, it's just strange and confusing. Angel asked her, like, maybe, or pretty much tells her, like, maybe you should go ask her, like, what you feel about it and whatever. And Kay says she's going to do it. But we then move to Ashley's party. We see Kay and Angel, they're arriving in the car, and she's talking about how she's going to address Wendy, and she hopes that Wendy receives it well. But Gizelle brings Tia, and we find out they're friends. They met at an event. She works in high-end real estate, so she's a realtor, and they bonded over raising twins as well. But we find out Tia, she's prim and proper. She's from London, England. Her family is a part of the royal family in Nigeria. Charisse, of course, is always there, so she's there at the party. And Gizelle ends up, we find out that Gizelle met Angel with Kay earlier in the week. Gizelle loves Kay. She wants to get to know her friends as well. Tia and Angel, they have their first greeting. And yeah, everybody's just mingling and everything. And Stacey ends up arriving. So she ends up stating that even the way Ashley treated her, she's showing up for her so they can reset and move forward. I said, okay. But Stacey comes in. She introduces herself to Angel, but she did not acknowledge Kay. Kay starts making herself seem, hey. So Wendy then arrives and greets everybody. She and Angel had a little moment like, hey, like I seen you before, kind of like that type of moment. But Wendy gets in her confessionals and tells us that she's a familiar face, but she don't know her, which can be true. Like you can see somebody and you can recognize them because of their face, but that doesn't mean that you know them. So that's where she's coming from with that. I can see some people taking that as shade, but I mean, it's true. But Ashley makes her entrance, and she's struggling down them stairs. It's struggling. She makes her speech, don't really care. But Wendy and Gizelle, they sit down and they're talking and stuff. Kay then joins them as they're talking. She's like, hey, granted, Wendy definitely could have just acknowledged her and said, hey, or just threw her hand up. But they were having a conversation. So I'm not really going to trip too much with Wendy because if you come in, I can't stand when people interrupt me. And if you see I'm having a conversation, just sit down. You ain't got to say nothing. Just sit down whenever we finish talking. Then we can then address each other. But Kay was like, that's rude. I'm sitting here. Wendy was like, I mean, we were having a conversation. Kay says, I mean, I think it's a little weird because you acting like I'm not sitting here. She was having a conversation. Like, at that point, you can sit there, but you just wait until they're finished and then you can talk. But she then asked to speak to Wendy. Gizelle gets up. She's like, I'm coming back, but I'll get up. So Kay was like, I just want to talk because I've been taken aback because I feel like you've been phony. She was like, the energy that we have on the phone is different in real time when it comes to being in public. So she brings up this event. Wendy says that apparently Wendy had said that she'll be there. Kay said that she was sponsoring the event, and Wendy was like, great, I'll see you there. Kay says when she got there, she saw that Wendy was a speaker. Wendy was me. Wendy was like, what was wrong with that? Because I'm like, what was wrong with that? Like, she did say she was going to be there. She just didn't tell you that she was speaking, which, what does it matter? But Kay then says, like, if I'm sponsoring, why would you not share that? Wendy says, I was being a friend. I hyped you up. I didn't think it was my moment to share that I was speaking. And Kay was like, I mean, I'll take that. But at the event, you didn't say hi to me. Wendy was like, I was on the stage speaking. Like, what you want me to do? Kay says, I mean, if I saw my friend in the crowd, I would have waved. That's you. That's not her. That's what Wendy does. Wendy is a professional speaker. She does these speaking engagements. Why would she just wave while she's like, that's pointless. But Wendy is confused as to why this has her upset. And Wendy's like, me personally, if I'm coming to somebody's event and I see somebody doing something, I'm just going to support him. I wouldn't take away from, because what Wendy's basically stating is, I'm not trying to take away from your moment sponsoring with me speaking, yet you're trying to take away from my moment with me speaking to make yourself, like I was on Wendy's side. But Kay then brings up this NAACP award shit. I'm like, all these moments that have happened prior to the show, yet you want to bring it up now. It's clear you're bringing it up because last season everybody called you boring. You needed a moment. Now you bringing this up to have a storyline. Now you got a beef with Wendy that seems to be a one-sided one, but okay. But she then says that Wendy asked her if her makeup was done by herself on the carpet. Kay took that as shade. It looks like it was shade because Wendy damn sure was laughing about it in her confessionals. And Bravo is shady for putting that picture up there. But Kay then asked like if she understands where she was coming from. And Wendy's like, I mean, I don't, but I feel like you're reading a lot into it. But if that's how you feel, I'll accept it. Stacey and Ashley, we move to them. Gizelle and Angel, they standing there talking as well with them. And Angel then says like, because Gizelle asked Angel how she feels about meeting Ashley. And she's like, I mean, she's sweet. And Gizelle says until she's not. And Ashley's like, I mean, just don't lie to me. Like, your breath can stink. I said, that's shit. Because Stacey's standing right there. And Gizelle says, yeah, I mean, it can happen. It happens sometimes. And I was like, here we go. Stacey, feeling hit, she asked, do you think my breath stinks? Ashley said, I didn't say it was you. Stacey starts blowing her breath in Ashley's face. Ashley's body language had me in here in tears, yo. I got so tickled watching that. Her blowing her breath, that had me tickled. And then Gizelle then says that's a lot of bacteria, which it is. But Gizelle tells us that her breath is coming from her lower stomach. And Angel then says that Stacey, Angel cracked me up when she said this. Stacey's mouth greeted her before she did. I said, Jesus, so that breath really is hot. But Stacey then asked Ashley to have a moment away from Gizelle because she feels like when it's the two of them, it's a tag team, which it low-key is. But Gizelle then says, don't start that bullshit. That's another lie. But Gizelle and Angel, they sitting there laughing because Gizelle tells Angel that her breath does stink. And Angel says, I mean, it was a little tart. And they start cracking up. But Stacey, she goes to tell Ashley, even though like you accuse me of all these things that I know isn't true, which you know is true, I still came here to support you. Ashley, being shady, she says something just smells a little fishy when it comes to you, but I moved past it. We know why she said it smells fishy. But she was like, why are you like hiding stuff? So Ashley's like, you've been lying since day one. Stacey says, you've been shady with me since day one. You're so messy. Both of them are telling the truth about each other because Ashley always is shady. But Stacey, you have been lying. But Ashley then tells her to get her size 11 feet and get them shoes and gallop away. Everybody else starts migrating because they starting to get louder and louder. So they then ask if Stacey shows her divorce papers, she's talking to Ashley, and this is Tia. If Stacey shows her divorce papers, will y'all be able to move on? And Ashley says, yeah. And then Ashley then starts stating to Stacey, you're a full-grown woman who came into a group misrepresenting yourself. And Stacey, because she's pointing her finger in Stacey's face, Stacey says, get your finger out of my face. And then she calls her the devil. I was cracking up. Good premiere episode, y'all. Good premiere. I'm excited for where the season goes. We know Monique is coming. I know a lot of y'all either don't like her or you do like her. Me personally, I like Monique. I do. But I'm excited to see her back, see how she reintegrates herself into this group. But yeah, I'm going to be here all season. So if you're new here, hit subscribe. Do it real quick. It's free of charge. Same thing with the thumbs up. It helps push my videos out, give me any algorithm. Do that. Leave me a comment as well. Share the video, and I'll see y'all next week. Peace.